Hello, everybody, and welcome to the November 26, 2018 edition of the Ephrom Josine Show. I am your host, Ephrom Josine, and ladies and gentlemen, I have a top hat now, therefore making me the most qualified person to talk about politics ever. Anyway, the migrant caravan finally, this hat is not working. The migrant caravan finally made it to the U.S. today from Honduras, which may I remind you the U.S. sponsored a coup in the 2010s, or early 2010s, and therefore is at fault for the amount of destruction going on there. And they were greeted just the same way those on Ellis Island were once greeted, with pepper spray. What? That's not how they were greeted? Okay. Now, let's look at the obvious fact that, yes, they came over here illegally. That is true. However, let's all remember that that wasn't always even severely punished. It used to be if you were caught coming over here illegally, you filed paperwork, about 2 pages worth, and went along your day. And the United States is not so full we need these restrictions now. In terms of population, we have only filled about 5% of our country. You could take the entire U.S. population and fit it into Texas if you wanted to. Now, that's an awful idea. Do not attempt that. Because, god dang it, I'm not going near Texas. But, if you theoretically wanted to, 95% of this country is wide and open, and we don't have to give them welfare. That's another argument I keep seeing, is that they're going to take advantage of our welfare. We don't have to give them welfare. We can make it so they can't get it, which is already the case. You can't get welfare unless you're a citizen here for 5 years. But not only that, they've probably paid more into it than most legal welfare users, considering how a study found that illegal immigrants, on average, pay more percentage of income in their taxes than those in the top tax bracket. Think about that. I'm sorry, I just cannot find a compelling argument as to why what they did should have been illegal in the first place. Or at the very least, why it deserved gas and rubber bullets over it. A former Border Patrol agent told Newsweek in defense of gas that you can, quote, put it on your nachos and eat it. That was probably horribly racist and didn't even make much sense, but he did say that. But that wasn't even the most controversial statement involving it. That came from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman who isn't even in Congress yet, and yet the right is convinced probably caused the Great Depression. What? That's probably what happened. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was sitting around and saying, let's do the Great Depression. And then Sean Hannity said, we should probably not. And then Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said, you fool! Indict the Great Depression! In which she said this, not Cortez did. Asking to be considered a refugee and applying for status isn't a crime. It wasn't for Jewish families fleeing Germany. It wasn't for targeted families fleeing Rwanda. It wasn't for communities fleeing war-torn Syria. And it isn't for those fleeing violence in Central America that the U.S. is largely responsible for, by the way. Of course, this very much angered conservatives who just sort of waved their fist angrily that this point was made. Candace Owens said, imagine comparing the slaughter of 6 million Jews, plus the mandated murder of 1 million Rwandans, to immigrants who want an upgrade and don't want to follow any rules to get it. I mean, if you ignore... I can do that with any statement as well. In fact, you know what? We are going to take out the Rwandans part and instead reword the sentence so it applies to them. Here's how it sounds. Imagine comparing the slaughter of 6 million Jews to immigrants who just want an upgrade. Do you see the problem? Here's what Corey Stalling over at Louder with Crowder said. It's true applying for asylum is not illegal, provided the asylum seekers go through the lawful process. Fun fact, did you know that the reason Anne Frank had to stay in Germany was because of strict immigration laws passed by people like you? Another thing, the migrants already escaped Honduras and made it all the way to Mexico. Unless there's a Honduran Holocaust going down in Tuanja, methinks they're out of harm's way. Didn't your president just call that country a shithole? Like, am I the only one who remembered that? I'm just saying, if Mexico is so great, it's very odd you people want to limit them coming here. Heck, it's very odd they're apparently coming here to begin. Wait, no, they aren't! It's been net zero since '08. I'm sorry, I'm going on a different tangent. Lindsey Graham, what was your response? I recommend you should take a tour of the Holocaust Museum in D.C. Might help her better understand the difference between the Holocaust and the Caravan in Tuanja. And the differences are. Notice how he didn't actually state the differences for the record. He just said, well, if you were smarter, you'd know the difference. Well, you apparently don't. Tommy Lawrence, what do you have to say? Fox News contributor Tommy Lawrence says watching migrants get hit with tear gas was, quote, highlight of my Thanksgiving weekend. Can I just say your Thanksgiving must have been awful, and that's coming from someone who spent his watching Jesse Lee Peterson and reading a Ken Ham article. Which was last episode. Just, oh my god. You know, it's not even the worst take. It's gonna get worse. Did Courtney Krischoff have a take on this? Let me just turn my... Yup, she did. And what was it? Opinion. As opposed to everything else on Louder with Crowder, which is just pure fact. The migrant caravan is lucky it was just tear gas. Ooh. At what point does migration become an invasion? When it's government sponsored. Which actually has happened with Mexico before. Simple answer, when the migrants both intended and execute use of force to enter a nation. Actually, then it's just assault. So pardon me if I think the migrant caravan got off easy with just tear gas. Did you link to the... Okay. For it had been my choice, I would have used actual weapons propelled by gunpowder, as opposed to all the guns that aren't. Had it been my choice, I would have sent tanks. Are tanks propelled by gunpowder? I don't think that's true. Not just armored Humvees all tricked out and camouflaged for Desert Storm. No, actual tanks. Migrant caravan this, bitch. Oh my god, you are the most... I don't even want to call you awful at this point. You're just annoying. But since the media has affected everything like stage 4 cancer, aren't you part of the media? Public opinion plays a factor in acts of war, national defense, and now an invasion from migrants who are mostly innocent women and children, but who are 80% military-aged men. Well, then wait, why not? If you love the military so much, why not make them join that? 80% of them can apparently do it. So that fleet of Abrams tanks I'd send to the border would roll over narratives as it rumbles its way to an invading army. Fire at will, boys. The media's narrative is, this is about something she's hypothetically talking about, for the record, not that something that's actually happened. These poor, innocent migrants from mostly Honduras, are they not from Honduras? are just throwing rocks. They're not hurling grenades, launching rockets, or throwing magazines filled with Tess holiday spreads. You're annoying, you know that? Anyway, and on a side note, yeah, that would be uncalled for. If I kick you in the shin, it is not justified to blow my brains out in response. Same thing the other way around, for the record. There are some lines where it doesn't become self-defense and it just becomes being mean, honestly. There's no better way to put it. Or actually, how about cruel and unusual punishment? Yes, don't throw rocks at people. In fact, the people who did throw rocks at border patrols, which wasn't even close to all of them, for the record, it was, I think, maybe not even half of them, should be deported. I'll give you that. The ones that didn't, I don't care about. I'm sorry. Since these poor innocent migrants are throwing sticks and stones, we Americans, who military boasts a nuclear arsenal, maybe we shouldn't, just saying, should show mercy. Why these poor innocent migrants have nothing but rocks at their feet in which to chuck at border patrol agents. They're but a quaint, Arctic people. Tanks, machine guns, drone strikes, wouldn't that actually kill a bunch of Texans as well, who all tend to vote Republican? Well, now that I think about it... Don't do that! For the love of God, don't do that! I'll at least give you this. You're not doing it for political reasons, which is apparently the only standard in our society now, and my mic just fell over because of you. Hell, send some F-16s to shake things up. Welcome to America, the #1 military superpower in the world. Now watch as we demonstrate our dictation to national security. A couple hundred people from Central America, clearly the biggest threat to our national security. We shall not discriminate against a third world army. They aren't an army. Guerrilla terrorists. Or uniform deployment. Try to get into America without America's permission, and we'll blast your platoon into the next century using the best weapons from the current century. Heck, I'll even throw in a few warning shots just to be charitable. It's the Christmas season after all. Light up a few... Okay, is there a single part where you actually defend your ideas? Here's the only part I can find. Because here's the bigger issue. What sort of criminals lurk within the caravan? We don't know if terrorists, murderers, rapists, or just poor little victims in search of perfect hugs are among the invaders. Now had these migrants actually followed. Okay, what happened to innocent until proven guilty? So to be clear, pro-life Supreme Court nominee. We have to have a trial. It has to be innocent until proven guilty. Random Central American citizen. They just are factually. You are obnoxious. There is no other way to put it. This took way longer than I expected to. I had like a few other stories planned, but you know what? I'll just save them for tomorrow. I'm Ephrom, and good night.